Femtech's role in reshaping women's wellness.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here today. I will be your moderator for our panel, and we have a great group of very expert panelists, and I'm going to hand over to each of them to very briefly, because we don't have much time, introduce yourselves.
I can start. Hi everybody, I'm Vittoria Pavoncello. I'm investment associate at ZetaCube, that is the corporate venture arm of Zambon. Together with the rest of the team, we are managing an accelerator for startups that this year and for the next 2 years will be focusing on women's health. And I'm really happy to be part of this panel. Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Rob Milnes. I'm the CEO of a company called VO HealthTech, and we offer a device that uses core body temperature for tracking progesterone throughout women's cycles.
Hi everyone, I'm Zahid. I'm a consultant gynecologist and an advanced laparoscopic surgeon by day, but I am also the CEO of My Anna Health. It's an AI and a healthcare company that aims to bring free healthcare to 2 billion women around the world.
Hi everyone, I'm an investor at Athena Capital, a newly founded specialist MedTech VC fund in the UK. Wanted to add, founded by 3 incredible women, so very much all about this female space that we're breaking into, and very delighted to be joining this panel today.
Thank you very much, and thank you for keeping it very brief. I appreciate it. So I'm going to start with you, Rob, today. You've had great success with VO HealthTech, and your products are serving thousands of women. Now, what have you learned from the user data about women's needs, and how does it shape your approach moving forward?
Thank you. So we started out over 10 years ago in trying to track women's menstrual cycles in great detail using core body temperature. And the first thing we learned was that we needed to educate the market, both women and their doctors, about what is a normal cycle. So it's quite clear from our data that actually no single cycle is the same as the next. No single woman is the same as the next, and it's very much mirrored in their cycle patterns if you're able to look accurately enough at the data. And so we started to expand on the understanding of what those cycle patterns were telling us, and found out that in fact over 30% of the women using our product had some form of disturbance in their cycle, which was probably as a result of some issue. And PCOS is the primary issue that seems to affect most of our users. Over 55% of our users have PCOS, and our estimates are that at least another 20% have undiagnosed PCOS, and that's causing cycle disturbances which cause considerable comorbidities, and not just difficulty trying to conceive, but obviously issues associated with diabetes, a higher risk of certain cancers, and so on. So managing the process of managing the cycle is really what led to the company that we have today and what we're doing today.
Thank you very much, Rob. And we know conditions such as PCOS affect, 1 in 10 women approximately. So it's a global issue, and that brings me on to you, Dr. Zahid. Your goal with My Anna Health is to make healthcare accessible to over 2 billion women worldwide through AI. So in your experience, what are the biggest barriers to women accessing healthcare, and how can Femtech help overcome these hurdles, particularly in underserved regions?
I think, thank you for the question. I think that the biggest barriers are often the ones that are very easily overlooked, such as simple as language. The language that a majority of the publications in the world are published in is English, and the best publications, or the best publications that come out around the world, are in English. But there are publications that are in other languages that are excellent and have answers in them that we haven't really grasped because we don't speak the language of the publication. And so language is one, accessibility by geography is one. But what we have learned over the years is through the power of telehealth, and especially during the pandemic when we saw how close the patient to doctor gap actually became just through a normal phone or video call, what we have learned is those geographical barriers can be overcome. And then now, through auto-translation and through subtitling, again, AI generated, we have come to the point where languages are no longer a barrier. So I would say those are the two biggest ones. And coming back to Anna, Anna speaks 63 languages. Anna has covered 95% of the world with its languages. So irregardless of what language you speak, you will get accessibility to healthcare. Geography-wise, Anna can connect you no matter which part of the world you're in. Say you speak a really difficult dialect of Arabic, you can be connected from that part of the world to a person who speaks that difficult dialect of Arabic, maybe in Australia, maybe in America, you see, through telehealth. And again, Anna will find the best doctor for the job, also one that will understand you in your own language. So this is again testament to the power of AI and how things that were normally difficult for us to do manually are now automated, and they're automated well, and with actual artificial intelligence, we are now overcoming barriers that that would make it incredibly difficult for women from all over the world to access healthcare.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zaid. Thank you for just, elaborating on the power and the real potential that AI has in the world of Femtech. And I think moving on to our investors of the panel, we can't talk about Femtech and the future of Femtech without talking about funding. So I think my next question goes to Victoria. So as an investor, what unique challenges do women's health startups face when it comes to funding?
So thank you, Tazin, for the question. So I think there are many challenges that every women's health or femtech startups can encounter in seeking fundings. And for example, one that I encountered myself as an investor is the lack of foundational data and lack of basic research. And this leads to a more difficult, development path in terms of time and research. Often there are not the right preclinical models, for example, and so they need, their development slows down, and this is something that an investor can look at also in evaluating the startups. And also another challenge that I think it's connected to this first one is that investors, sometimes, investors can know anything, they need to be educated as well. So sometimes it is really important to educate the investors on the real needs that a startup is actually facing, and it's trying to find innovations and solutions for. So there is a general lack of knowledge in the different needs, but if you explain to the investors what are the real needs, and so they can understand that there is actually a market, then they can understand the opportunity. And one last challenge that I myself encountered from the other side of the table is the lack of consistent exits. So I think you may know this, but when an investor is actually doing the due diligence and evaluating the opportunity, we refer to previous exits to model the possible returns of the fund, because this is what the aim of the investors is, actually to have a return at the end. And so when we lack the exits, we are struggling to fit it in the strategy of the fund. And so understanding, for example, the valuation, how much money do we need to put in to get the right return. And so this is something that it's evolving. I think we are at the start of this new wave of women's health. And so we will have more and more exits, we will have more and more knowledge, and also, I hope, more and more basic research. So these challenges will be less hard, let's say, in the future. But I think that these are the biggest challenges right now for female health startups.
Thank you very much. And moving on to more challenges, Suran. As we know from research, and also if anyone's looked on LinkedIn, we would have seen that when it comes to funding, women-founded startups seem to face more challenges compared to those of their male counterparts. Have you experienced this, and what is your opinion of it? And how do you think we can overcome these challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question, and definitely a massive challenge that we're facing at the moment. Part of the reason that Athena Capital was founded in the UK is because there is this massive gender gap, but that also brings with it massive opportunity. So Femtech is a phrase that's only been about since 2016. It's a relatively new concept. And so it's massively growing. I feel like it's growing exponentially at the moment. It's a big market. And so that means that we have this femtech space, and behind it, loads of very impressive female founders with incredible investment opportunity, because this is emerging, it's growing very quickly. And so while there are significant challenges, I really want to bring to the forefront of this the massive opportunity that is there, because this is new, it's emerging and it's growing. And yeah, but then I don't want to skate over the challenges that female founders face. So one of our portfolio companies is absolutely brilliant. They're doing exceptionally well. I'll name drop them because they are that great. Day, they are developing a diagnostic tampon. And to give reference, obviously, you know, a tampon, it's like a taboo subject. We can't talk about it, female health, you know. And actually hearing horror stories about speaking to other male investors. So the founder was meeting with male investors who thought that she was flirting with them because she was talking about the vagina and, you know, and the tampon and all of this. And it's like, that is shocking. You know, who on earth would, first and foremost, is that flirting? But secondly, it just very well illustrates the barriers and challenges that women are facing. And so even addressing the language around femtech and women's health is a big issue that we also need to address.
Definitely. Thank you for highlighting some of those challenges. And I'm going to open up my next question to all of you here today. So what role do you think regulatory bodies and government policies should play in supporting femtech innovation, and what changes would you advocate for to better promote women's health? Anyone can go first.
I think I'll take the first answer there, because I'm going through that pain right now. I believe that something would have made it much easier for Anna to come to the population would have been if there was a great platform for the stepwise way in which these regulations and these certificates have to be achieved. You see, when you develop a femtech product, you develop it with the whole of your heart and the whole of your brain to try and solve a problem that really needs to be solved, because women are underrepresented in the world. However, when you end up developing that product, you are faced with the challenge of trying to get all of these regulatory bodies and certificates that will say, well, yes, now you're ready to go to market. But there's no actual way of navigating that in a stepwise manner. You know, there are things that you have to do, but then at every step someone says, well, to achieve this step, you have to do another step. It ends up becoming one of those computer games where you're looking for the key to open a door, and that key is behind another chest, which requires another key. So I feel that it would really help, at least in the UK, because we do have a very good landscape. So it would help if there was just a really nice way of outlining what your journey should be, and what should be step 1 and what should be step 100, And once you've achieved step 100, you're ready to go to market.
Sounds so simple, but it's not. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we have a Class 2 medical device, and we've gone through a traditional, Class 2 process to get that to market. So we benefit from the fact that there is very clear advice and understanding. The truth is that most MedTech startups, if they don't come from the MedTech background, will struggle getting products to market, whether they're Femtech products or not. I think the landscape you're navigating is one that's very new to us all, which is AI in healthcare and how to regulate that properly. And the truth is that all regulators are catching up with that at the moment. I would say, to try and steer it back to your question, we've been very lucky in the willingness of our customers to use the data that we have anonymously for further research. And in fact, I think it made it easier for us to get our product to market than if it had been, some general medical device, particularly one used in a hospital or clinic setting. So because we went direct to consumer and we engaged with that consumer from day one, we were actually able to create significant amounts of clinical data very quickly, and in a way that had never been done before. So, I feel very positive about that, but as I say, you have to know what those steps are in order to get your product to market, full stop, if it's a medical device, and particularly if it's a Class 2 device.
So, yeah, I think that besides, of course, the regulatory path, what the governments could do to help, this sector is actually fuel the basic research, because sometimes, most of the time, we don't even know the physiology behind the condition and behind the disease. And so it's going to be hard to find a therapy if you don't know what you're going to cure. And so what's your, your target? And so I think basic research funding is something that they must fuel. But also education. So in terms of knowledge, it's crazy you cannot say vagina and not being misunderstood. But it's also crazy that most of the people don't even know what endometriosis is, for example. So education is lacking. And also, to come back to regulatory and market and more practical stuff, I think the reimbursement codes are really important in this matter, because you can get approval, but there is an after that. There is the market. You must reach the clients, and so in order to do that, you must have a clear vision of who's going to pay for your product. And so there are, I think, not enough reimbursement codes for women's health assets, and so this is something that will help also entrepreneurs and startups to have a clear path in what they have to do in order to bring their product to the market.
Great, thank you very much for your answers. And I think just as we wrap up, moving forward and look into the future, what area, I'll keep it to one area of women's health, would you like to see innovation in? It might be an area that's lacking in innovation at the moment, and why? But keep your answers very brief.
Absolutely. I mean, picking up on what Vittoria said, so endometriosis for me is a massive space with critical unmet need. I've met with patient advocates with endometriosis and the debilitating pain they go through, to the point where one of the solutions to endometriosis treatment is essentially like chemically induced menopause. And offering that to a young woman, and obviously all of the hurdles that we know with menopause as well, to name but a few, with HRT only just saying, actually it's okay, it's not going to shorten your lifespan. There was an article this morning. So it just goes to show like the knowledge gap there. But endometriosis for me would be a massive opportunity, such a big, young patient cohort that are suffering and they need our help.
And I would second that, actually. I would second it so much that our first research has been for the use of Anna in the early diagnosis of endometriosis. We got an NIHR grant for this, and our research is almost complete. Our we will be going to paper, I think, late next month, basically. So we've got great responses, we've got great feedback, and we've got great data to share with the whole world, which shows how easy Anna makes it for you to actually get from the moment that you're complaining about debilitating periods. So, the 4 pains of endometriosis being dysmenorrhea, dysuria, dyschezia, or dyspareunia, but then how Anna understands it from the conversation that you have in your normal language and matches it to the information she already has from the 283,000 publications that make Anna, and then she sends you to the right doctor, and the right doctor in the UK, in England, is actually one of the 78 endometriosis centers with the endometriosis consultants, about 150 of them, and I used to be one of them. So that in itself is the first research that we've come to paper with Anna. So I think I would second that.
It's very difficult to disagree with persuasive arguments like that. So just for an example, 8% of our user base has a diagnosis of endometriosis. 55% have a diagnosis of PCOS. And we know it takes between 5 and 8 years to get a diagnosis for PCOS. So I'm going to say PCOS as well as endometriosis. And particularly, it would be nice if we could treat these conditions without, for instance, putting young girls on the pill in order to treat their acne because they've got PCOS. It would be really nice to find good, solid treatments that help people to live a completely normal life with these conditions.
Yeah, I think monitoring and treatments that give the women the power to control themselves. So diagnostic tests, at-home self-kit tests, but also we have 2 examples here. So monitoring your health and being in control, because women are tired of here it's normal, everybody has it, it's just pain. So I think now we open our eyes, and so we want to have control on what's happening to our body.
I'm gonna jump in. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Tosin, you're a medical advisor. I'm really excited to hear about what your opinion is on the future of Femtech and the opportunities out there.
Thank you very much for giving me the space to speak. Do you know what? I would definitely have to echo when it comes to especially endometriosis. I mean, it affects a huge population of women. 1 in 10, again, it takes around 7 to 9 years for women to receive a diagnosis. And I think from all the comments that I've heard you say, it comes back to the fact that in women's health, we're still playing catch up when it comes to understanding women's health. So in the US, it wasn't mandatory for women to be included in clinical studies until 1993. So we are lacking on understanding, we're lacking on knowledge, especially when it comes to a global population, people from different backgrounds. We need more research, we need more understanding, and I think if we push forward with that, with conditions such as endometriosis, but PCOS as well, we'll start to see some, huge changes and some tech solutions that can really benefit women's lives. Thank you for the question. So as we wrap up today, thank you very much to our panelists. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge and expertise, and thank you to our audience for engaging with us today.